What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It is your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals. And man, listen, man, it's beautiful when I do this because I get to meet new people. I get to meet new coaches. I get to meet people from all across the country with this platform and everything. But sometimes it's just always good, man, to kind of get people, my day ones, I call them, man. People that I've known three-quarters of my life, like this gentleman that's sitting next to me. Man, we go back to 11, 10, 11, 12, battling against each other to becoming teammates in high school and just doing great things. And Here it is, 30 something years later. All right. Friends to this day, brothers to the end of this thing, man. And we've cried together, we laughed together, we've traveled the world together with this baseball thing. Two kids, man, from small town over there, man, trying to do our thing, man, and make it. Um, this is one of the good things, man, about this beautiful thing we call baseball, man. The unity and the people that you meet. And I'm not gonna say, well, obviously we were friends before this baseball thing came on with it, but it also united us. And we're gonna tell our story here and there, man. But I got my boy, man, Rob Bell, man, former major league pitcher. Um, Rob, man, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, my guy.
It's always good to see you. It's always good to talk to you. And thanks for having me on the show.
All right, so man, let's go back, man. Just tell my listeners, man, the story, man, your journey of playing ball, high school, getting drafted, playing in the major leagues, man, and man, to influencing kids I mean, going from different cities, man. Definitely in New York, though, man. Tell your story, man. From the
Let me
beginning all the way
say,
to now, man.
my relationship with you starts way before Marlboro Middle School or high school. It starts with Ben Trapani and Mickey LaPola stacking their Marlboro Youth Baseball Little League team, the Cleveland Indians. And I still remember losing to you guys. I played for the Oakland A's. God, we had the worst uniforms. You guys had the dopest uniforms. And that was when Major League, the movie, had come out with Rick Vaughn and Joe Boo and all those characters. And you guys had a stacked team. And you had just moved up to the area at that time. And I still remember Ben Trapani was on that team. You were on that team.
Ben was a stud. Ben was the stud of that team.
I mean, you guys had everybody. I mean, if there was an athlete to be had in Marlboro Elementary School, Ben Trapani and Mickey LaPola had like hand-picked you guys, to be there. And it was like, I can't remember who was on our team. Like we might have had like a pitcher, a catcher, and a first baseman, and just enough to like field a squad. And but I still remember you were a prolific player from day one. And I still remember your mom being in the stands and just the ultimate cheerleader and the ultimate mother and human being and just a first class woman and she passed a few years ago and just a first class woman and she was instrumental in your life and instrumental in a lot of parents, just like they are behind the scenes, raising kids and supporting them and getting them out to practices and making sure the uniforms are clean. And as silly as that was, you hear that stuff all the time. It was important. My mom, after games, all the time, she was scrubbing the stains, make sure my pants were white, and I never showed up to a game dirty. And believe me, I know you're all about the aesthetic. White teeth, the haircut, the white on white car with the white wheels back in high school. It didn't matter, the thing barely got there, but it looked good. I think you even had white windshield washer clip-ons. But beyond that, going forward, I mean, just sports, the sports connection, and sports molded everything I did in my life. Whether it was being out and running with my father in high school and even much younger than that, but just wanting to dribble a basketball to make myself a better player, being outside the house and shooting hoops, just it was a way to always be around. And then further as a team sport, playing basketball, that was like my first love. I thought I was going to play in the NBA. Michael Jordan was the ultimate player at the time. I mean, now they had this, the NBA, the 30 for 30 or whatever. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was the 30 for 30, but it wasn't. It was like, but the whole Jordan series.
The dance thing, the last dance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable for anybody that saw it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I cried watching it, but watching Jordan play, he was, seeing him on the Wheaties boxes, wanting to get the posters and all that. And I couldn't afford Jordans. They were too expensive at the time, but, but
you could afford eight shirts. You could wear 8 shirts at one time, though. You could afford that, though, looking like Zach Morris. So, yeah, you can afford that, though.
It's a little known fact that Saved by the Bell, Zach Morris, his character was based on me and the way I dressed.
Right.
Yeah.
For all the jokes he got to say about me, this dude, when I tell you he used to be dressed to the nines, I never seen somebody that would just wear 2 collared shirts, a shirt underneath. I'm just like, dude, like you just need one shirt, but he was just clean. I'm talking about every time you seen him, you just he had his look. He was down. The ladies loved him. Everything. This dude was just, the man. He gonna be humble over here, but behind the scenes, he knew what he was doing over here. But go back to your story, Zach. Rob.
That's why I had to end up working at the Gap in high school, so I could end up getting a discount on some of that stuff.
I forgot that you worked there. I remember you worked there. I remember that. Yeah.
Rich Achmoody, who worked at Foot Locker, and he said, "Come over here and work your Foot Locker." The reason was because he wanted to quit, so he needed someone to take his spot. So I ended up going to work over there in like Stripes, So that was a humbling job working there. But I
want to let's go this way, because I hear you telling little stories, man, and I had a second round pick on the show 2 days ago, and he talked about the mindset that he had to make it, to where he's at right now. He's in A ball right now with the Marlins, but he just in 2019 the second round pick. I want to kind of direct. Let's go back to this. We're going to talk high school days and stuff like that. But you really, when it comes to work ethic and when it comes to working hard, hey Nadine, hey Mike, when it comes, so as a younger guy, this dude was an awesome basketball player. Like, he was really high level basketball player, and I remember like he was just trained. He was like, if you see him, he's 6'4", 200 and back then, 200 pounds or something, 210, 220. And, had a rocket for arm. I used to be mad because I used to want him on a football team with me. Just imagine him as a quarterback. But he was like, nah, he was structured. He was like, I'm going to run cross country. And I used to make fun of him, but he did it for the conditioning aspect for his basketball and baseball. I want to talk about real early. When did you really understand and know that, man, I really got a chance? Because back in the days up in Marlboro, you were kind of known more of a basketball guy, especially freshman, sophomore year. But when did that transition happen where, you always good in baseball, but when you really knew that, hey, I got a future in this game of baseball? When did that start happening for you, Rob?
All right, I'll talk about the opportunity part first, then I'll go back to the mental part after that. So I was 13 years old, and I was playing in a Babe Ruth game, so I don't know who watches or who doesn't watch, but where we live, after you play Little League in our area, you go into Babe Ruth, which is, the 13 to 18 year olds or 13 to 16 year olds. And I was just playing in a game that it was kind of like a meaningless, little game. And basically it was guys that, were too young to play American Legion baseball, and my sister was playing softball on an adjacent field. They back up to each other, and my dad was watching me on my field, and my mom was watching my sister on the other field. So I'm pitching that game, and it wasn't that I was pitching well or wasn't pitching well. It didn't matter. A guy happens to show up, asks who my father is or my parents are, and somebody directs them. And however the conversation ensues, the gentleman says to my father, your son, if everything continues to progress the way it is, will project to be a Major League Baseball player. Now, my dad, kind of in a small town, my dad being a cynical person anyway, it's like, who is this guy? Why would he tell me this? And, like, what's the whole situation? Now, it's just about summertime, and it might have been like the week before 4th of July. He exchanges numbers, and he gives my dad a business card, and he gives him on the back of his business card, and his name is John Tomini. He went on to be a national cross checker with the White Sox and an advanced professional scout, where he would go watch professional or major league teams before they play the White Sox in a series. I won't get too far into that, but
whose daughter now is married to the Pirates GM now.
Yeah, right.
I know that. We're gonna tell that story behind the scenes, Rob. I don't even know, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Tyler Tomini, and even before that, she was one of the most highly regarded female executives in professional baseball. And Mr. Tomini writes down in the back of this card several different, just mechanical issues. He opens too quick. Just things that I can't even remember right now. But I know it was important enough that my mom laminated it, went into this like binder, and he says he might have given my dad his number and said, listen, give me a call and let's schedule a time that we can meet up. We ended up meeting up on morning of 4th of July, a week later, and he spent like an hour or so working with me on mechanics. At that point in time, even though basketball still would continue to I was still driven by basketball, and I was a good baseball player at the time, and I was still I was into it. It lit a fire inside of me that said, I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player. There was just no doubt about it at that time. And although I knew I was a good basketball player, and I could kind of do what I wanted on the court. At that point in time, something just clicked in me that said, when I get on a baseball field, I'm just going to do what I want to do. I can just against a hitter. And so now to go back a step, I grew up in a household where there was a lot of discipline. It was about doing things the right way. When you go out and if you're going to do something, you do it. If my dad's big thing was about, don't go say I'm going to go score 40 points tonight. It's about make sure that you've practiced, you got sleep, you showed up every day, you take good shots. It was all those things, and that would again translate to baseball. It was about, I'm not going to go throw 7 scoreless innings. It's about, I'm going to execute quality pitches. I'm going to stay ahead in the count. And it was a lot more than that. It was about I ran a lot. Which is a very difficult thing. It was from the first minute I got out there, I was belly aching about stuff. And it was my dad was always just one more lap, just one more mile, just one more. And those things at the time, it was probably more for him as an adult who was, after work, but I was gaining so much out of that. And it was the mental toughness, and it was just the layers that it kind of built. And I was able to push myself a lot further at different times than maybe kids or at my age, even at the American Legion level or the Empire State Games, which are the New York State basically Olympics, or when I was able to dig deeper and further for longer than a lot of other guys were, and couple that with maybe some talent, things were able to work out for me.
I just so when he's saying these things, right? I mean, there was real strong discipline and structure, and it did start in the household. I saw it firsthand. His dad ran every day. It would be nothing to see his dad out there running every day. You see Rob out there running miles. This is before strength coaches. Our high school didn't have no strength training program. It was about doing stuff on your own to become the player that he became. I saw it firsthand. I remember the transitioning started happening, and I want to kind of get into that, Rob. So when Mr. Tomini, who lifelong baseball dude, who I remember, I distinctly remember Mr. Timinia telling me the same time too, like, hey, you got a chance to do. I wasn't listening at the time. I was like, yo, my mind was football everywhere else, but he is a lifelong baseball guy. And I didn't know that. So I didn't even know that story, to be honest. I knew he told. I didn't know that 13-year-old, Rob, was told that, that from Mr. Timinia. But I want to talk about that sophomore year of yours. Well, I want to say your sophomore, junior year. I want to say my sophomore year, because I tell this story all the time. I'm sure you don't. I write this down all the time, where this dude drew so much attention because of the mindset, because of the work ethic, and obviously because of his overall skills. I always exaggerate that, but talk that number. I remember, like, your junior year, because you went on a roll where you never lost in high school in what, 3 years? You didn't lose in high school in 3? How many years was that?
A couple years. I lost my last game in my senior year. but I mean, that's just the way it would go. I mean, that's like, here, take this lemon in the eye. But
right. But it was, I mean, it wasn't. We all know. People know what happened back in the day. But I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, it was quite a ride.
Yeah. So your junior year, every time you pitch once a week, how many scouts could we expect? Because I kind of go whatever, but I mean, I remember how many scouts would be once a week there watching you pitch from your junior year on. How many?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one of those things. I mean, sometimes it'd be like, for an example, you'd go to a game like, and again, you go to a place that's in like the Catskills of New York on a cold day in May, in like a place called Ellenville that was in our league. Now, Ellenville might graduate 80 kids a year, but they just happen to be in our division. And it's possible that it snows up there, but scouts, if the scouts were like, listen, this kid's pitching, and that's the chance that they have to see a prospect, and it's whether it's me or if it's your senior or junior year, and they've got to get a report in, they're going, and there could be a dozen or 24 scouts up there on a 40-degree day where no more that any kids want to be up there playing, or the scouts want to be putting in reports that they turn out. But I think what set the tone, actually, and I still I kind of just remembered it. There's a few games that stick out in my high school career, but in high school was some of the best times of my life. Some of it was better than playing professional and major league football, because it always meant something. It's like why it's so fun to watch college sports. Something's on the line every minute, every down, every game, and it always means something. And you're young kids, and you're growing together, and just all the stuff that's going on in school, and there's just always these like it's always like it's kind of like watching a 30 for 30 or an E60. It's like the story outside the stories that make for like the whole thing. And I remember we played Beacon High School to open up our junior year. We ended up playing 12 innings against them.
Really?
I think I pitched like 8 innings to start the year. And, obviously like a high school kid only pitches 7 innings. And I shouldn't even pitch like 6 innings on like or 5 innings to start your first game. But our coach was, obviously he wanted to beat Beacon, which was a big school in our area. And we definitely beat, I ended up, we ended up walking off against them. But I remember it set the tone for us. And for me, like, this is the way it's just going to go. And it was just like one game after the next, after the next, after the next. And and it just put together.
How many games straight? 20 something games straight? 22, right? If I'm not mistaken. How many?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it's 22 or 23 or what. Yeah.
Right. So in high school, he won 22. So I don't remember the Beacon game, to be honest with you, though. But I just remember that junior year, my sophomore year. I mean, it was a little bit of we lost a couple of guys, but we, everybody didn't know what we were going to be capable of doing. But I remember when you were in the 8th grade, we go back to middle school. When you were in the 8th grade, I was in 7th grade. We used to just murder teams, and I remember that type of team was the same team that when we were sophomores and juniors. And for every person, I thought we were worried because we were missing some of the key guys, Slater and Justin and all those guys left. Everybody was worried. But then we went on a stretch where it was unbelievable, man. You took your game to a whole nother level and won 20-something games straight. Where, I mean, we made it to the state championship 2 years in a row, and we lost both. But it was like during the season, we would not lose. We would lose a couple games here and there a year, but just imagine, at the time we didn't know, but two, major league guys on the team. But I want to talk about, from my standpoint, I always tell this story, and I never said it to you, but I've told the story multiple times, and we always talk about, taking advantage of opportunities and stuff. When I tell my parents listening in, y'all need to listen to this, especially if you have kids, because it's never usually the scout or the person that sees, the person that they're looking at. So Rob is 13 when a scout just has to be just randomly at a game and sees this kid pitching. Mine happened to be, watching my boy do his thing on the mound and seeing these guys over there. And I'm already feeling like I'm good, but I was just like, Dag, like, yo, this is for real. Like, yo, I see my boy all the time. I know how hard he works. I know how good he is. But I'm like, it made it more a realistic thing to see him that, I'm around him all the time. And, if he's getting this type of attention and I know he's worth it, I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing and I'm gonna be okay. And I always appreciated that because, I have friends and we know some of the same guys and stuff, but me and Rob became extremely closer because we shared a bond of like, yo, we trying to do some big things. And I couldn't talk to my friends are not in that space like I could talk to Rob. And so not only am I seeing the work ethic, the running, the grades, the discipline, the eating, and all of that. He would eat the same thing before he pitched every freaking night. The night the chicken parm, right? And I would see the discipline. I would talk to him about college, and when he was telling me Wake Forest and Louisville and these recruiting trips, and this stuff used to baffle me at the time, and I was like, whoa, like excited for him. And just seeing it like, hey, what do you say to these guys? What is going on? The same type of stuff I relay messages to you guys. I was able to get a lot of these stuff like firsthand knowledge on that. You know what I'm saying? So the beauty of having somebody like that right in front of me, it was priceless. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this baseball world, where I could rely on him and hang out with him and just sit down and just talk and spend hours in that basement of his in his house and just spend, just talk anything, tell our dreams and what we want to do and what what were we going to buy and what would happen if we go to this place and what would be this and that, like all this dream sharing where I couldn't do it with nobody else, man. That's what we had, that's what makes us brothers. You know what I'm saying? It was like those special times that nobody could really understand what, obviously you went through first, and then I was able to relay that and piggyback off of that the next year. It sound about right back in those days, man?
Yeah, no, we spent a lot of time together, and although our experiences were they were parallel, they were different. Your experience, because of how prolific of a football player you were, and the opportunities that were presented to you, and because of how and again, to use the word again, prolific of a baseball player you were, it was, I couldn't even imagine, I think they ran out of paper to print the recruiting letters and envelopes to stuff them with to kind of woo you to come to their universities at different times. And, and again, a guy like you who offered so much, it scares some universities. And not to say that you ending up at the University of Maryland to settle on them, your ticket was written anywhere, but it becomes scary for some universities to see a player who's such a dynamic player. Well, what's going to happen if he's drafted in the first round or the second round and he's offered X amount of money? And the way the players are slotted now and given so much cash, it's very alluring. So, schools get scared off. And again, to go back to this whole, a scout seeing me when, I was very young, and by chance, players, used to hear stories, I got hurt or I got screwed or no one, I used to go to school but they drafted this guy, but not me. Anybody out there that hears that story, it's a joke, and you should laugh. You should laugh, probably not in their face because it's probably not that lacks class, but laugh later on because it's a joke. You can't hide a player. No one gets screwed. No one gets passed over. Anybody who's in an organization that throws 95 and says that like, oh, I didn't get an opportunity, there's 29 other teams, and you will get an opportunity somewhere. And I've heard all the stories, and I go, listen, I had an ERA like a West Coast zip code for a long time, and you know what? I stuck around in the big leagues for plenty of opportunities. But because you know what? They see you have an arm, they see you have an aptitude for the game, they see your willingness, and as long as you just keep coming and keep moving forward, like the John McEnroe thing, always forward. And you don't present like an issue in the clubhouse or an issue to yourself or anybody else, or you don't make noise in the press, or you're not thumbing it up on social media, which would, thank God, wasn't around when I was playing or you were playing. You'll always get an opportunity. And you can create opportunities for yourself. Baseball as a hitter, it's like, look at, again, to use a guy who from way back, Pete Rose. The wood bat is a great equalizer. Pitching, you can throw above the hitting speed, or above the swinging speed, or below the swinging speed. It's one of two things. There's a lot of ways to play in the big leagues. There's a lot of room. It's a big tent, and so anybody that says that, and again, it's big numbers and big swingers and 5-tool players, they're obviously going to get the first looks. But do you think David Eckstein was at the top of anybody's like draft? A draft table? No, it's just there's not guys like that. Dustin Pedroia, I mean, those guys are not the top of somebody's like draft list, but they just they present like as guys who can really help teams, and they do. They just keep coming,
Right. I'm reading the messages. Let me just kind of give a little shout out to the people that's on, seeing names and stuff that I haven't seen, or so. What's up, Jason Lane? Jay Lane was on the Carolina League when we faced each other back in the day when you were playing in Danville. What up, Mr. Bell? What's up, Katie Collins? All right. What up, Thomas? What's up? Luke Wilcox says, what's up, Rob? All right. Lenny Donardo, Lenny D says, what's up? All right. Lenny D, yes. We got James, we got Daryl, we have Melissa Booth is in the house. We have Wifey's in the house. Up, Kristen. All right, we have Michael. We have and then on the other pages we got some more. Tanya. We got So we got a lot of the Marlboro contingent. Oscar Cologne, what's up? All right, Derek DeGroat, what's up? All right. Craig Cirillo, what's good? Mr. Perillo, what's going on? All right. Allison, what's up? Your sister-in-law in the house. All right. Mike, this is what baseball and sports bring: different people from different parts of the community world, and for one purpose, the friendships you make. Let me put that comment up there because it's the truth. This is what baseball and sports bring: different people from different parts of the community world, all for one purpose. The friendships you make and the conversations they are sharing years later add to the memories. Refreshing. Salute to you guys. No doubt, Mike. That means a lot, man. Just gave me goosebumps with that because it's the absolute truth. All right. Dylan says, love watching you guys in high school, proud Marlboro alum. All right. My boy Paulie D over here says, Rob, let D know your little league team and Babe Ruth team beat up. No, we just talked about that. No, that was not the case. All right. Rob, let's before I say it, because you were the pitcher, you were everything, all right. But I distinctly remember this bet that we had, all right. No. This is when I knew I had made it, all right. Rob, no. Yeah, this side ain't breaking. The side is not breaking. So. Way back, this is what this is about: healthy competition. All right, it was cold as hell that day. I remember we had just kind of started going outside, and Rob, we would talk. We threw together every day. You remember you and I were throwing partners. We long tossed every day. All right, every practice we and him threw together. It out on time. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so we threw long toss, and him, he could throw to Africa and back. Me, he made my arm strong messing with him, right? So this particular day, Coach Fino was like, "Hey, we're gonna scrimmage, Bell, you're gonna face Brown, And what was the bet that you had said? And I said, look, I didn't say I was gonna take you deep. I just said I'm basically talking junk. I'm gonna get a knock. I'm gonna hit whatever. And I said, and you were talking junk, which made me say I'm going to hit a home run. So this is in practice. All right.
Uh-huh.
He said, he's so confident in his skills. He said, D, if you hit a home run, I promise you I'll run the bases naked. I said,
Yes.
what? He said, I promise you, if you hit a home run, I will run the bases naked. This is my man over here, right? You know what I'm saying? Future major leaguer talking all this junk. First, it had to be it was a 3-2 count. I think I worked you a 3-2 count. And sure enough, I stuck the bat out there. I mean, it was a cold day, and I just kind of stuck it out there, and it was a wall scraper. But bottom line, I hit a home run. And here it is. How many years later?
I haven't ran them yet. It's because I think the wind was galing to right field. It's the stuff they kind of want to run yachts in. They want to run yacht races in. Seriously.
No way. So here it is. Here we are. We were 15 and 16 at the time. And now, you know, in the great young age in the 40s over there, this man has never owned up to that bet. To this day.
I may not be able to now because I just had knee surgery here a couple months ago, and my doctor
you can walk the bases,
and I only bike.
You can walk the bases over there. You know what I'm saying? We can do it late at night, and you've been out there late at night for doing other things, so you can go out there late at night. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway,
I did say that.
Anyway, that's just, you know, one of the few little times he ain't come through. But yeah, that's the healthy relation. You know, that's our healthy competition we had, you know, back in those days, man. So anyway, I want to talk about draft time, man. And so now it's that time, man.
Say one thing here.
Go ahead.
There was one thing, just going back for a second here. A young guy who we played against at Walk Hill High School, Derek DeGroat, who's watching, and Joe Detz passed away earlier this year, and he was our high school basketball coach. He was a teacher at Marlboro High School, and we talk about people.
Bro, start the loop-de-loop.
Knock off that loop-de-loop. Why can't you just take the ball and go straight up? You know, just like Neil Field said, don't pick your friends, pick athletes. You know. But talk about people who really just influence your life and influence or just shape you as a human being, and you don't realize, you know, like Coach Detz would ask me silly things like, how many times a week do you shave? Because he thought that if you shave more than 3 times a week, you were done growing, you know, I mean, and he wanted to have as many tall, you know, and I didn't have it. I mean, I thought it was funny at the time, you know, and he would give you like these big Jackie Gleason wide-eyed looks, you know, like he'd stick his arms out. And our families used to go up and watch the state championships in high school when we were young together. But he also gave me an opportunity when I was a freshman, you know, and although I believed in myself as a basketball player and I thought I was decent enough to play, that team in 1992, 1993, I mean, they had Eric Najor, Justin Lowe, Danny. I mean, we won. We should have won Section 9. We lost, but I mean, we were just a really good team. But he gave me a chance to make that team as a freshman, and to be a freshman on a varsity basketball team around kids that were really just advanced athletes and you know, and generally just men, you know, I mean, 18-year-old kids and 14-year-old boys it's a big difference, but it forces you to grow up quick. And, you know, you're playing in front of big crowds. I mean, we were playing against Walk Hill High School and they were literally selling out games. There was lines before the games, I remember. And it was just, and I can go a lot further about, and I won't right now, but there's a lot of people that influence your life, and Coach Detz was at the top of that list, and to have lost him much too soon it's just sad. But you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention.
I'm gonna cut you off a little bit there, Rob, and I didn't mean to do this, but man, I'm getting the goose. We need to reach out. I don't know. Maybe you know this. I don't, but Jay Soma is telling me Mr. Taminia, who the guy that told him at 13, he just said that he came back from Mexico doing the Basel Miracles and he's extremely ill right now himself. So yeah. So anyway, I mean, maybe, you know, we need to reach out to him, and you know, I should have by then, but Jay Soma said, yeah, he's heart issues and stuff like that, man. But yeah, man, you know, you just, you know, childhood coaches and mentors, and Mr. Becker too, right? You know what I'm saying? Passed away too, man. This year has been tough, man. Yeah, Mr. Detzman. When he passed, I just thought about you. I thought about you, man. Like, because I used to ride you so hard with the loop de loop, man. He loved all his players, but he loves some Rob Bell, man. And we saw with the loop de loop. Man, anyway, man, that was the first thing that came to my mind with that. But
You're talking about
so
draft.
yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go to this draft thing, man. And I want to talk about leading up to the draft. I mean, you're mowing down high school hitters, a lot of attention. I mean, I distinctly remember anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 plus scouts, especially your senior year. Every time you pitched, just that type of it got to be a point where it was like if you didn't pitch and the scouts wasn't necessarily there too much, it was like, oh man, But tell them, during the draft process, where did you end up getting drafted? Kind of tell that little in your draft story and how that came about. Because, try out, workouts. You worked out from, John Stewart forever. You know what I'm saying? You used to be around him all the time. So tell that, the local scout aspect of the relationships being built, and then into the point that you got drafted and where round and stuff you got drafted.
Right. So right now, the way things are, as I understand, that are a lot different than what it used to be. So Rocco Baldelli is a friend of mine, and when I talked to Rocco when I'd worked in professional baseball, just just from a distance on the professional side, not on the player development side, I ran to Rocco Baldelli and I kind of asked him some questions, and he said, "Listen, what we've kind of come to learn is we try to take any of the surprises out of the draft. We get to know the player. We'll go and throw batting practice, multiple times to him. We get to know the family. Like it becomes like, essentially like, you're not going to get to the kid's not going to trick you. You don't just give them, a couple of personality profile tests, watch a few games and then, sign them to $1 million contract. And then a few times down, a few games into it, you find out the kid doesn't have the guts for the game or failure, because the game is, it's going to be more failure than not for most players early on, because everyone's the best of the best. But so to kind of switch gears back to when I was being drafted, basically a scout would come into your house, they talk with your family. I would go, they'd kind of say, hey, they'd ask you to basically fill out what's basically like, I think it was called a PF16 or a PF99. It was a personality profile test. Like if you see two kids fighting at the playground, would you, A, stop it, B, stop it and negotiate a good resolution, C, encourage more fighting, or, D, ignore it. It has like a series, it's 500 of those questions. In the meantime, the scout may be upstairs talking to your family. A lot of the teams would just mail the personality profile test. A lot of the teams may not have done anything like that. It's just seeing you pitch over and over and over. Sometimes, Neil Fino or my high school coach would say a scout had contacted him to talk to him. It was as simple as that. It's kind of like the movie Moneyball. It was like, the kid's got no confidence. How do you know? Well, he's got an ugly girlfriend. It was as rudimentary as that. The game has changed so much. Kevin Cash maybe have lost the World Series this year because he took out his starter in the 6th inning because that's what the numbers said. Take out the starter because we bring in the reliever. That's what the metrics say. We take all the emotion out of the game. We just work by the numbers. Everything's by the numbers. And we don't care what your guts say. And that's the way the draft works. So I just kind of like you said, pitching or playing and seeing me play and saying like, well, this kid got drafted in the 3rd round and I was drafted 85th overall, which was the 3rd round. And it was fantastic. It was crazy. I mean, my feet didn't touch the ground for a couple of weeks, and I had a scholarship to Wake Forest before that, and I would have been just fine going there. It just happened that I had an opportunity everything was right for me to sign a contract to go play professional baseball, and everything did work out for me. But just like you said, seeing me play and it kind of like fueled it kind of just like knocked down that wall of kind of like, the the illusion of like, well, can I or can't, is it, can I, will I, won't I? I remember playing against Cornwall High School in a section championship, which is where we live. It's basically like the kind of like the conference you have to get out of before you go play in the state title games. And a kid named Ryan Balfe, who was a really great player where we lived, he was drafted in the 8th round. And I won't say that we kind of like, we just kind of just dealt against them. But, I just remember just handling them and just saying like, wow, this kid got drafted in the 8th round. And, I just kind of just, it didn't seem like, I was out of that league or anything. And Tim Spindler and was another young player who was supposed to be the best thing in the world. And Tim was a great player. He was a really, really great player from he went to Washington High School. He went to
seventh round, right?
Yeah. But he was one of these a guy who he was taking people get bad advice all the time in life and in baseball, and he was being advised by a local agent, and he went to a community college and ended up blowing out his elbow and was never the same. And maybe that's his journey in life, and that's not for me to say, but here's a kid who was just a tremendous raw talent, who never had an opportunity to really pursue the journey maybe he was supposed to. But I remember pitching, and seeing that this kid got drafted in the 7th round. And I was, every bit, I thought in my brain, all these negotiations and games you play with yourself, and, things worked out the way they were supposed to for me, I thought. And the bottom line is being drafted, for anybody who's watching or has a kid out there, being drafted, it's just, it's just a ticket to the game. It's a long way from there. I still thought that like once I got on the plane and I showed up in West Palm Beach in the Gulf Roast League, that there's gonna be like 50,000 people at a game. There's literally 30 people at a game. It
was that many? What?
Yeah, exactly. So it was 130 degrees in the shade, and it was a humbling experience, and that's what I needed. I needed every bit of pain that I experienced for the first year and a half in professional baseball, and then to be kind of brought, into, I needed all the player development that the Atlanta Braves offered me. And that's what the minor leagues are. And that's why at the time when I was with the Braves, they said, listen, because they're the whole team concept, which, listen, they wanted to win as much as anybody else, but they wanted to win at the big league level. They said, listen, we may lose as many games as all the other teams in this league, but we'll run more players to the big leagues and we'll win more games in the big leagues than anybody else. And that's all we care about, player development.
Which they definitely did. I remember back, it's still like that now, but back in those, it was the who's who of prospects in baseball, and you guys are just super, super stacked. I wanted to kind of piggyback off of I want to kind of get some of these questions in though. And then I'm gonna kind of start from there. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss out on my question. My boy B Webb in Chicago says, my question is, how do you develop a consistent release point? My boy B Webb loves that question. All right, he has a 12 or 13-year-old kid. How do you develop a consistent release point? He asks.
I think it's for me a consistent release point starts with everything that happens previous to that. Your mechanics over the rubber. It's everything for me is like it's good balance throughout, good tempo. You come to a good balance point. Everything is about keeping your weight back. It's just like hitting. It's as you want to keep your weight back as long as you can to be able to recognize a pitch for pitching. It's keep your weight back as long as you can. Stay tall, get that stride out, and and not being able to, you're not leading with your head on anything. So all your weight is back as long as it can be, and your arm is able to kind of develop its swing, consistently. You're not the faster you go, and I think that's the tendency is like I want to hurry up and get that ball to home plate as quick as I can. I want to drive that. I want to drive it right there through home plate as quick as I can, and it's never going to happen. You're not going to throw the ball by the best of hitters at any level. It just doesn't happen. The key to pitching, and just like it is, it's a consistent release point, and it's just by repetition. But it's by body control, it's by balance point, and it's just by maintaining just by maintaining body control, and it all happens over the rubber and by staying back. Stay back as long as you can. It's just by like as long as you can, and just all the fire happens right out in front of you.
All right. B-Web, I'll get to some of your other questions. Let me get some of these over here. George says, what was your velo your sophomore and senior year? What about your junior and senior year? Let's stay there. I don't,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I really wasn't. I wasn't like this super hard thrower. I mean, these kids now are like.
I wanted to talk, but I wanted to talk about. That's what my question was. I'm gonna piggyback off of George's real fast because again, you're right? Because I remember 88 to 90, if I'm not mistaken, right? But then, just like the scouts would say, the 88 to 90 up in New York, where you're the restriction on your arm, but you went from 88 to 90 in high school, but then within a year getting down to Florida, where were you topping out at then?
Yeah, I mean, I ended up topping. I mean, throughout my career, like once everything would come together for me, I would top out consistently in the mid 90s. But it took a little bit for me. I mean, I was for a period of time, I had a big chest. I mean, I was a bigger guy. Then I kind of learned. Then I became a lot more athletic. I mean, I wasn't big in here just because I was trying to be big. I just was. It's just the way I was kind of built, And but then over a period of time, I lost some weight through my chest and legs and in my core, and I just learned how to use my body, and mechanically, I just became more consistent and more efficient. And so where I was able to kind of like turn it up, I turned it up. But and again, I probably in high school, just like Dee was saying, 88, 91, and but no one was, there wasn't radar guns, and no one was telling me, hey, he topped out at 90, 91 today. It's just not the way it was. But the velo wasn't you. The velo was a big thing there because at when we were it wasn't nobody really throwing as hard as you were, but you had a plus curve. That if now that I look back, it wasn't necessarily velo, that it was a two. I don't remember your change piece at that time in high school. I ain't gonna lie to you, but that fastball his curveball was better. Then when you say your curveball was a plus pitch better than your fastball, right? I probably had a major league curveball in high school, and I'm trying to be exercise some modesty here, but
yeah,
I did. I had a major league curveball in high school. Yeah. And that just was one of those things. I mean, I just naturally could throw a curveball. It just came to me, and no one taught me. No one, no one tweaked it. No one did anything, and I didn't have a changeup. It was I developed the changeup out of sheer necessity. I mean, stuff was hitting the fan for me because I lost the feel for my curveball. So I said, I better figure this thing out. And to develop a changeup at the major league level, essentially, or I went to the big leagues. I had a changeup that was, it was formidable, but then to have a changeup that became like my best pitch, essentially, it was, it's something that I kind of took some pride in. And it's not an easy pitch to develop, to throw a circle change, to throw a pitch that you basically have all of your hand on the ball, and it's just to let it rip. And the key with the changeup for anybody who's out there listening is, however you hold it or throw it is and the way I teach it is throw it as hard as you can, because what sells a changeup is arm speed. It's not grunting. It's not, throwing, a different arm angle and not turning your hand inside out. It's that the grip takes the speed off the ball, and you have to throw it, with the same arm action, arm speed as you would throw a regular fastball, and let it do what it's going to do.
So you saying you didn't develop that third pitch consistently on a higher level until you were in the big leagues? That's crazy, man.
High level until I was in the big leagues.
Wow.
I went from AA to the big leagues, didn't have a real good I had a changeup I could throw. It was all right. And then in my second year in the big leagues, it was like my curveball I packed up and said, we'll see you later. And I would throw it if it was 0-2, 1-2, where I felt like it wouldn't hurt me. But as we're previous to that, I would throw 1-0, 2-1, 2-0. I mean, I had that much confidence in it. Then I said, something's got to give here. I'm gonna find myself in a bad place. I got to figure something out, And cutter wasn't for me. I kind of found it to be always flat, and it just wasn't a pitch for me. So I just, one day I just started throwing a changeup, and I'd throw it during long toss. Like I just started throwing it. I just would throw it. So it's not like a pitch like trying to throw a slider or a curveball where it takes something out of your arm. Changeup's just it's like your hand is still pronating essentially, just like a fastball would. So there's nothing to lose with it.
All right, we got some ex teammates and big leaguers. Milton Bradley says, "I remember distinctly you on bus ride singing Backstreet Boys, Tell Me Why." Yeah, of course, right. And I ain't telling my story about the wedding day, but anyway, Fernando Lunar says the best breaking ball in Atlanta Braves organization. All right, shout out to my boy Looney over there. All right,
Lunar was one of my favorite teammates of all time. He was one of those guys. He was a quiet guy, Latin player, but every once in a while he'd fire like a one-liner over at you. Just a really good guy. One of the best human beings ever.
Yeah, Looney was, man. He was a good dude, man. No doubt about it. We got Paul and Keith Storr, all right, Coach Storr on here. We have Roy Brady out there, Goshen. Greg Shepard, I remember him with Winston-Salem. Says, "What's up, Rob? Ribs still hurt from you." I guess hitting you. It says sitting, but he meant to say hitting. But D Brooks asks Rob. He says, "With kids getting so much training now, how much development is done in the minor leagues?"
I mean, I don't kind of necessarily understand the question, but I guess I maybe do, like if it's asking about like off-season training, or is it asking about like coaching, like pitch, like everyone
guys coming from high school, like the youth baseball with the training that's going on now, the youth on the youth level,
like everyone has their own coach, right? That kind of deal.
Yeah, and what what kind of like basically what you're saying, the Braves was known for development at that time, where you were able to develop into the player that you became. Right. Now, not so much, because these guys are getting all this training early, you know?
Yeah. So it's everything's changed a lot. And again, that's just in a matter of a decade, less than a decade. I mean, the only specific individual training I would get was when I would go down to the IPI, like where we would train, and that was just for physical like training,
that was IMG. If you guys on it was IMG. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the IMG Academy, which had a physical, basically like a high intensity physical training that basically sends you into spring training, but that had nothing to do with mechanics or anything else. And where I come from in New York, and I hate to ever say this, I got very little individual coaching. I had again Keith Storr. I didn't play basketball my senior year. I had somebody work with me one-on-one, had given me some knowledge that he had particular, very specific knowledge he had. And I had another guy where I played summer baseball with the American Legion with the Newburgh Nuclears, Ron Gamma, who knew some stuff. I mean, because he coached at a high level program in Suffern, New York. Outside of that, and it's no knock on Marlboro High School. I mean, it's just we had come from a school that just, it was just a high school baseball. We were a high school baseball team. It was a varsity sport that we offered. It wasn't what Marlboro High School is now, with a turf field and lights for football and, all three sports, go to the state championships. I mean, it's like things have changed a lot. And just like, where I give lessons to kids, when I'm asked, but no one's asking me for, at a professional level, they're not coming home and saying, things are not right for me. What should I do? To me, it seems like you're doing a disservice to the organization or the player development or the natural development that should kind of, for the evolution, the evolutionary process that's in play for a professional athlete. It's if you're a big, strong guy coming from a a program, let things naturally unfold the way they're supposed to. If you're you're going to go out, and I think that's it. I think it's kind of like it's almost a built-in excuse. Like you're supposed to kind of get your ass handed to you a little bit in baseball. There's very few of the Mike Trouts. There's no Mike Trouts actually.
Right.
Those guys. It's most of the guys are going to go out there, and it's like the stuff's gonna come at them, and they're gonna say, "Whoa, what did I sign up for? Is there like a caveat in my contract where I can kind of go back to and accept the college experience?" But you know what happens is those guys, there's one or two things happen. They push forward, and you see what happens, and they have the intestinal fortitude to endure the game, or they go to spring training, and when they say, "Hey, can you come in the manager's office?" and they're part of the giant groups of guys that asked to go home. And it's no knock. I mean, some guys just aren't built for it.
Hey, yes. Hey, man, I don't know. You give me goosebumps talking that because it's the real. It's to be in that situation when it is. It's like it's that cut day is the Grim Reaper day. It's a lot of dreams are cut short. Some want to keep playing, but it is right what you're saying. Some guys are not cut out for that, man. It is a cutthroat type of thing, man. But you're right. Good message over there, Rob. Piggybacking on what you're saying with all these mechanics, we don't ever talk mechanics and stuff, especially on the pitching, because I could care less about pitchers. But right. But man, this is gets me thinking, man. Do you have any pitching? Russ asked, do you have any pitching camps or YouTube channel on pitching, Rob?
I don't have anything on social media. For a long time, I thought that if I was on social media, somebody could find me. So I
Russ, he needs to be added to the mix. He needs to he needs to be added to the mix. I got Russ, I got to get this guy off the couch, and he's teaching. He's always teaching, but I'm like, I want to get him on the national.
I should. It's because what's funny is I have two nephews, and about a month ago,
Rachel's on right now. Rachel's on here.
Oh yeah, about a month ago, my brother-in-law, I can't remember. I told I'd stopped in some Plate Against Sports for no reason. I'd gotten gas and I saw a Plate Against Sports, and I didn't realize how much new stuff that they had in there. And I was going to pick up a tee for my nephew, and I told my brother-in-law about it. And so my brother-in-law, he's always on Amazon and stuff like that. And it's like when I stop over, it's always like Christmas Day outside their house. They're always getting stuff. And he's got one of everything. I mean, forget Subway signs. He's got a Subway, at his house. And so so when I told him about this baseball tee, I said, "Do you think RJ would be interested in it?" And so he sends me a picture of this $200 baseball tee. I'm like, "No," I said, "He doesn't need." No, it's that's what I said. I'm like, it's not. I said a big league tee. It's like, so I said, "Hold on a second." So I go to Dick's, which was a whole new journey in itself. I went to Dick's. I said, and I'm not sure how many of your listeners or your viewers have been in there lately. I went to Dick's. I mean, this place is unbelievable in terms of the baseball offerings. And this is just in Connecticut. There's 500 gloves, spikes, bats. I mean, it was I wanted to just hang out in there for a little while. It was unbelievable. So I ended up getting my nephew a tee, and I kind of wanted to keep it for myself for a little bit. But I got him a tee and some of the small wiffle balls and stuff like that. I mean, for next to nothing. But but in terms of the lessons and just kind of like Russ had just asked, I probably should get me going a little bit more, because it's been a while since I've given lessons consistently.
Yeah, he has a lot to offer. I for a while he was doing baseball stuff and I wasn't doing it when I first. I don't know if you remember, years ago, but. I would love to get my boy out there, Russ, and do a hitting or pitching or just the camp in general, man. Get out there on the road, man, to take that knowledge and do, and do his thing, man. Not just on the lessons on a one-on-one, but on a national level, because he has that type of knowledge, as you can tell. And he's been there and done that with a lot of these other so-called pitching gurus. Ain't been out of freaking, anyway, I don't want to talk bad about people. But we got my boy Mike in Cali says, "Love this conversation. My son is a pitcher, class of 2023. Please talk about arm care as a pitcher and other positions you played, or were you a PO? What made you stand out? Miles Bahar, variety of pitchers, mental game. Lastly, what changed going from high school to the MLB?"
So it's funny. When I was in high school, I used to ice my arm after I'd pitched. I think just because I think that's what people did. I mean, that's what I'd heard, players did, or that's what I saw on TV. So, I'd ice my arm for 15, 20 minutes. And was it the right thing to do? Was it the wrong? I still don't know. I think the jury's out because once I got to the big leagues, some guys iced, some guys didn't ice. As I got further into professional baseball, I just stopped icing. I don't know if I was lazy or what it was. I don't think it's because of that. I found that I would get done with the game. I'd hop on a treadmill for 15 minutes and I'd run. Not hard, not crazy, not anything. So if there was a bike for me, I'd just get on a bike for 20 minutes. And I found that like just getting my body going for a little bit more, sweating a little bit more, that I felt better the next day than by just kind of like the static just like the static treatment for myself.
Right. Right. Wow.
In professional baseball in the lower minor leagues, they're big on shoulder, like a lot of shoulder exercises. What a lot of people at the time, I'm not sure if they still call them Job exercises, 5-pound weights. And there's a series that like everything treats like the shoulder, the front and the back of the shoulder, the rotator cuff, the rear deltoids. And the reason that everyone does shoulder exercises is because although you generate power from a lot of different parts of your arm, your shoulder is charged with slowing down your elbow after you let go of the ball. And if you have a weak shoulder, your elbow will blow out. And that's why a lot of these guys, they throw so hard now that they let go of once they release the ball, their elbows, they all end up with zippers at 18 years old. Now, to move on to a lot of other stuff, when I was in high school early in high school and early at different other places I played shortstop. I mean, like most players, I was pretty athletic, but then to, just minimize the chance that, you kind of do anything silly, I got moved over to first base like a stooge. Not to say that first basemen are stooges or anything else like that, but I think they try to minimize it.
Third base.
I think early in high school, but didn't I thought my senior year, for the most part, I might have played first base.
Okay.
I might have played third base early on, but I think that they thought that, like, how kids are. It doesn't, when you're 18 or 17, your prefrontal cortex, there's still like a lot of axons and dendrites still not like fully connected, or if the synapses are not like fully like firing on all cylinders.
I don't even know what the hell you're saying right now.
Stupid. You're capable of doing
that's science, all that, and Coach Starr teaching you science. I have no idea. But go ahead with your neuroids and your steroids, your neroids, whatever that is. Go ahead.
I'm sure there's not axons or dendrites or anything. It has nothing to do with it. What changed from going to high school and professional baseball? Well, professional baseball is a lot different. There's professional baseball before Major League Baseball, and I think everything changed because in high school baseball, it's like, basically what, somebody may call like show and go. You leave ninth period, like, there was 9 periods at Marlboro High School. You hurry up to the locker room, you put on a uniform, and if you're playing a home game, you take some light batting practice. The visiting team shows up and you're ready to go. Once you play professional baseball, there's like this whole process happening. It's like if you have a 7:00 game, it's 4 p.m. batting practice. You go inside at 5 o'clock. The visiting team's on the field by 5:30 for BP. Everything. It's like this whole like build up to the game. It's a lot more regimented. Then it's like you're running much earlier. There's a whole scheduled series of running as a starting pitcher or relievers. Everything is very, very scheduled and timed in professional baseball as opposed to high school baseball where you kind of just throw it out there. Long explanation.
Right. No, you good? Let me see. I just I missed it. Are you a standing tall and fall guy?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was young, I used to kind of like, I'm 6'4". I probably like to call myself taller than that, but I'm probably legitimately 6'4", and I could find myself in pressure situations, moving from like being tall on my back leg, say if like there's a runner on, second, third, I could find myself almost like moving to like a crouch position and not being able to like leverage my height. Everything in baseball as a pitcher is being able to use a down angle. It's very tough for a hitter to be able to hit a ball. It's tougher to hit a ball moving down on this angle than it is on a flat angle. That's why you throw as many curveballs as you can, as often as you can, or you're always changing speeds, which makes it more difficult. But I could find myself very often, and I don't know why it is if I find that if I'm crouching, then I'm going to be able to like drive the ball towards the hitter. And again, like a couple of questions ago, it said, it asked about like consistent arm angle. It's I could find myself even as a major league player. It's like I want to hurry up and I want to like drive the ball to home plate, and it serves me no advantage. And you're just not going to do that. But I am I think of myself as a tall and fall guy.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
Right.
Let me see. We have. When did you start lifting? That question came up. When should a kid start lifting? That came up.
When did you start lifting? So you played two sports. You lifted a lot, probably younger and consistently than probably I did.
Yeah.
I messed around. So here's a funny story. I was probably 10 years old. I used to be. I was crazy. I'd watch Rocky, which was like my favorite movie. I'd watch Rocky 3, and he's fighting, Apollo Creed, and then I'd want to go out and like go for a run. I was nuts. I still remember watching Rocky 4 in Newburgh, New York, and it was raining, and my family was getting in the car, and I was hesitant to get in the car, and I said to my dad, I said, "No, I'm going to run home, Dad." My dad looked at me like crazy, and I think he might even grab me by the neck and shove me in the car. But in my brain, I was like serious.
Right.
At the time, they used to have like Solo Flex. Remember Solo Flex? They had the bands. I would wake up in the middle of the night, I on a weekend, and like Solo Flex commercial would come on. I'd get on the ground, like start doing push-ups, and I was like 12. That's the kind of like when you ask about motivation. I think there's some things like some people have or they don't, and I'm not saying like that makes you like. That's going to send you to the big leagues or not to the big leagues. I just think that like I was built different than some people, and that might have made some people might have said like, listen, we got to send you to it. Now they would send you to a doctor for that. Back then, it just was what it was.
I remember the work, man. I remember you being able to run. I remember rainy days. I can remember driving to school or driving back from school or something and seeing this dude running, man, just in the middle of the streets and just getting it in, just getting that work in. I just think, and I'm not saying, like I said, when you talk to athletes, there's nothing like magic that happens to this. There's opportunities, things have to be lined up, man, but like it ain't just like magically he became a major leaguer or, magically he played multiple years in the major leagues and got drafted in a Division I scholarship. It's work, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think sometimes I see players and stuff that are very talented, but they don't understand that work that kind of goes into it. Like I ain't the runner, but I remember those 100-yard sprints in Marbles football field, you know what I'm saying, early or late when I figured nobody would be around to see me. Or that the working out Mr. Fino's son's gym over there, you know what I'm saying? Like really lifting on my own and like, recognizing body and what my body was doing. And I just remember like, watching you. I remember the conversations and like the running and the training and man, I wish this and that and picking up, playing basketball for hours on end and just using it as a conditioning aspect of that, man. So now, now that you play multiple years in the major leagues, what teams did you play for in the major leagues against, Rob?
Cincinnati, Texas, Tampa Bay, Baltimore.
Man, so multiple teams, multiple years in the major leagues, man. you get done with baseball, man, and I forgot. Did you say you did coach? I should
No,
know this, but
no.
okay. My bad. I thought you said so. So, but on that end, seeing what it is now, we have years away, like, and we talked about ball, and like you have nephews now. You have this platform. You obviously know this, man. Like, what is it? Do you ever feel like like getting back into it, like a little bit harder, hardcore, and just doing on the baseball side of things, or is it just like how do you feel about the game? You know what I'm saying in general.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I have two different feelings about it. Over before all this, before this whole COVID situation, for 2 summers in a row, I'd done some stuff with Major League Baseball Alumni Association, where they do outreach and summer camps, and I had a really great time with that. As where 2 years before that, where I'd been on their list and they'd asked if I'd be interested. I kind of was like hesitant to do anything, and I don't know why. It's like this personality thing I have. It's like I always feel like it's like this. I don't want to feel like I'm like I'm self-promoting. I guess that's what it is. And although I know that's all just this like narrative that goes on in my head, it's not real or anything.
This is not yours.
Thing is,
it took me years to kind of get out of my thing with that and do that into
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I love being around kids. I love being able to, the more I talk about it, the more it comes kind of back to me, and it really feels natural. I love to teach. I love to coach. I love to talk about the game, and I love to help. And but there's this thing that like once I stopped playing, it's like I almost wanted to go in a 180 degrees different direction. I was like, I wanted to create a whole new identity. I'm like, how far, I'm like, just to prove, I think, or something to myself that, and, and I just think I'm built that way. And maybe a lot of guys are, maybe some guys aren't. And
yeah. I agree with
so,
you. I was there, bro. I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like these times. It wasn't, where. And I'm trying to get your ass back in here. That's why I'm asking these damn questions. So I was there, and then I went and So from what he's trying to say, people that's still listening in, and I'm, this is my guy. I enjoy talking with him, and we're gonna go a little extra than we normally do. But when you 97, 98% of the guys, the career doesn't. I don't care if you made $30 million or you made $3 in this game. It never really ends the way you felt and want. Even though outside looking in, people feel like, oh, you made it to the major leagues, you did that. Oh my God, you should feel whatever. But when you are built the way he's been built, he's just saying like, yo, at 12 years old, he was like, yo, I'm gonna watch a Rocky film and I'm gonna run 20 miles to the house. You know what I'm saying? Like he's built like that. So it's like it's all out. It's like, yo, you want to go out on and I was the same way. It took 4 years. I didn't want to watch the game. I didn't want to do nothing. And I wanted to build this whole different identity. And Rob was the one trying to tell me like, yo, do stuff with the game and base. And I was like, nah, dude, I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? And it just takes time and you want to form this different identity, but it's like that. Like you got to be away from it, and then and it's always the coaching of the kids and stuff that brings you back in, and where it's the innocence part of the game, the high school part where he's telling you, because I always tell people my high school years is my best years I had. Whoa, you played in the major league? No, it was a business then. It was a job then. It was a doggy dog world over there with high school baseball. It was the innocence. It was just like, yo, we playing for our town. We trying to win games and playing for each other. Where when you're in a professional game, it's just like, yo, I'm trying to cut your throat. I'm trying to win this job. I want to beat your butt. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we cool today, but tomorrow I'm trying to take your job. You know what I'm saying? That's how that doggy dog world's and that's what he's saying. So, it takes this type of, time and years and, getting all out of your feeling, our feeling, because I'm right in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? And, I'm in Waco, Texas right now, Robbie. Let me tell you this, but I'm in Waco doing a showcase, man. And I literally thought about this driving down. I drove down from Dallas to Waco, first time in Waco. And I was driving down thinking this today. I was just like, yo, I'm back on the plane, you know what I'm saying? Like with this baseball thing. Years ago, I would never think that I'll be doing something like this, running showcases in different cities and stuff like that. I'm getting my baseball fix. But like 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 plus years ago, I was so caught up in my feelings that I wasn't even, thinking about the fact that I'm changing kids' lives, helping them get into college and doing different things
Right.
like that because I was
Right.
caught in my feelings. And that's why I want to kind of bring you back and understand, what I'm saying, what you got. My boy Vernon Varenzi's been Big Mo said, what's up, Rob? But
Yeah.
it's anyway, that's what it's about. J Maya, what's up, man? But anyway, man, Rob, I wanna let me see. Let me see this. And Mike said, "Great. I don't know. I'm just reading it. Rob, would you please join the Deep Brown organization? You can promote his brand. He's doing great things. Just say yeah. Well, I want Rob to build his own thing, and then we team up over
Right.
here. That's what I want, man. I want Rob because he's on that level, man. We team up and do great things, man. And that's my dude. We got something in store, no doubt about it. No
Right.
doubt about it. We gonna have something in store. I'm gonna drag his butt out of the Connecticut
Yeah.
streets over there and get him.
I think what happened, kind of just like you're saying, and I identify with it, and I'm not sure when it happens or how it happens, but I do know it started for me at the major league level, and I'm sure it happens for a lot of people in that are just that work in and I don't want to make a difference between just because you're a major league baseball player, professional baseball player, you somebody who works in construction or as a banker or teacher or anything else. I started to live in a distorted reality, and I don't want to say that that's crazy, but I would go to the park after pitching last night, and I say like I pitched 6 innings. I left the game with 3 runs, but 2 runners on. Now the reliever came in and gave up my 2 runs with 2 outs. Now all of a sudden I'm saying like, now my line is 6 innings, 5 runs. I'd go to the park now all night. My wheels are just going like this. I'm up, my heart's going like this, and now I got to drive from Tampa to St. Pete, just for example, and I'm thinking like I'm getting sent to AAA, I'm getting sent to AAA, I'm getting sent to AAA, and I'm just like in the clubhouse, and I go out and run, and I'm just waiting for somebody to like. I'm just kind of like my head's on a swivel. I look like a bird, I'm just like waiting for somebody to just like grab me and say, "Hey, come on in. We're gonna send you to like Durham or where." And that's for a long time. Like I just said, like that's just it was like, or if I pitched well, like I was like, oh, that guaranteed me 2 more starts. It was like this weird game of chess I'd play, and no one knew that I was playing. And I'm sure a lot of other guys were doing that.
Yeah.
But it was like you're playing this game with yourself all the time, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Mentally, physically, yeah. I just had this talk with my daughter. I was telling her the ups and downs of professional sports, the lack of sleep, the depressions, the downs, having a focus and whatever, man. And that's a whole nother ball game we could talk about, man, because that's the reality of baseball, of professional sports. It's not all what is all, whatever. But trust me, I know, you know what I'm saying, what you are talking about, man. This is let me see here. Russ says, who pushed you to? Kind of amazing to have two. He didn't say. He meant to say kids. Drafted in the early rounds at the same time. Was it the high school coach, little league coach? Who was the biggest baseball influence in your lives? Who made you all believe you could be pro and make it work enough? Make you work hard enough to become pro. We say that all the time, though, Russ. How amazing it is for what. But anyway, go ahead, Rob. Answer that question, man, please.
So I mean, for example, I mean, when we were in middle school, we had this, this real throwback. I mean, he was his name was Jack Crow. I mean, and he was like a real funny guy. He had these one-liners. He didn't have necessarily a job in the school, but he was just a really good human being. But I think he was like an assistant coach for like the 7th and 8th grade football team, and a head coach for the 7th and 8th grade baseball team. And he was one of those guys that kind of like he was just one of the first people around, kind of kind of push things along. Kind of he knew who the athletes were and he knew who they weren't, and then it kind of moved on to high school. But we came from a small town and I don't know what it is, but our town always just produced good sports teams. Can I say that it always produced the best athletes? Like, I don't know, but it produced good sports teams. Always won, league titles, section titles. It was just one of those things. If I told you to try to gave you directions to our town, you couldn't find it. I kind of joke around that we don't even have a stoplight in our town. It's a blinking light, and it's a great place to live, but it's inexplicable in a lot of ways, like how why the athletics are the way it is. The youth sports are fantastic, and they bring the kids up and along, but it just is. It's a good developmental program, and I think kids are held to a certain standard. Now the sports have gotten better and better, and I think, as silly as it is, I was up at my dad's house the other day, and we were taking a quick ride, and in the outfield they have D's number retired and hanging up, and they also have mine, and if there was guys I really looked up to. There was a couple of high school guys that were a couple of years ahead of me that, like, when I saw them, they were like big time, like in my eyes. They never left the town I lived in. They really didn't do too much, that would be like, that would stand out in anybody's eyes. But they were guys that, like, I just held them in such high regard. They were tremendous high school athletes. And I think in some ways, subconsciously, for young kids to see something like, and it's very odd for me to say this out loud, and I wouldn't, but only because it's a show kind of dedicated to these types of topics. I think the kids, they see something like that, two guys that came out of a town that it's a map dot, it's literally a map dot, and went to the apex of their respective sports. I think it's kids. It makes kids believe that it can happen. I mean, it can happen. It can happen if it happened for me, and I'm telling you what, it can happen. It can happen for a lot of other guys. Can it happen for anybody? I don't know, but it can happen for a lot of other guys. It takes talent, yes. I think it takes hard work. Like Dee said, you can't run your way to the big leagues. You can't push up your way to the big leagues or pull up your way to the big leagues. No, but all those things combined together with some guts and some blessings, and the stars lined up the right way, a lot of days in a row and consistently, I think things can work out. It's not any one thing in particular. It's a lot of things, and it's a little bit of magic. It really is.
Things does have to be lined up, man. And the blessing for me was having this guy, in front of me. And I'm not ashamed to say, I don't know why somebody would be to go on and to reach the places that we've reached. I obviously, every hand, a lot of things, like you said, the town, the people, the coaches, everything aligned and had a hand in our successes. And we share this, man. The ups and the downs, man. This is, like he said, this is bigger than baseball. We talk baseball and all of that type of stuff, but our relationship is like way deeper than baseball. Families and tears. We both, lost our moms, what I'm saying, in the recent years. And I cried when he told me, what happened, and like it was my mom, and he called, and I ain't talked to him in a while, but he found out somehow, some way. I didn't even announce it like that. And then I get a phone call literally the day or so after my mom passed. Hey, I heard what happened, boom, boom, boom. And that's the type of relationship we have, man. And again, this is bigger, than baseball. And sometimes it takes for somebody else to say, like, yo, two dudes came out of, like he said, this town that made it, and the dynamic, him with the Zach Morris to the clubs, to the club music and the random, stuff and the hip hop. He would never want to come to my spots. I always had to go to his spots when we would go to hang out, man. We were 20, 21, 22, and we were top of the world, young guys hanging out in Scottsdale and everything. I always had to venture to his spots. Never could go. He never wanted to go to my hip hop spots. Like I'm gonna let something happen to my boy, but I always ventured out to his spots, man. That's the type of relationship we had. All right, I had to go his, but anyway.
That's why.
You said what?
My spots were cutting edge.
Yeah, right. So, but anyway, man, listen, Rob, if you could, man, we had, I want just a couple of names, man. People are seeing you, for a while. I haven't seen you, in a while, but Jason Standridge private messaged me and says that he wants to get up with you. He was like, yo, he's been trying to get in touch with you. He's like, I love that guy, man. We played together in Tampa, and I remember a pitcher, right? Jason was a pitcher, right?
Most first-class guys I've ever played with.
So yeah, I'm going to give him your information, man.
Even though my wife made fun of me one day when I was wearing I had a white button-up shirt walking the stadium, and I think I had a backpack on. And she said I looked like a little schoolboy or something like that, but I don't know.
Well, anyway, he's on. We got Eric Najo on. We got what's up, Danny? We got Little Baker. Anna Baker's in the house. What's up? Miss G Okoya's in the house. All right. Mike Carafano, Monty, Brian, and Jason Monty. We have, man. So anyway, Crystal Lange, I remember now. My bad, Crystal. And all right, and okay. So listen, Rob, you're gonna take us out with a message, man, and we're gonna say our byes, but just tomorrow, next week, we got a fun-filled week. We got a Division III coach coming on. I'm trying to get I think we're going to lock him in, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, second-round pick with the Chicago Cubs, Quincy Carter, coming on next week. Junior Spivey, former major leaguer, coming on. I'm going a little pro love, man. We got my boy on today, ex-major leaguer. Next week, we got 2 or 3 ex-big leaguers coming on, too, along with a couple of college guys. But going more big league recently. Tomorrow we got the showcase in Waco. I'm here in Waco. Just flew in. So I look forward to seeing. I know some of the the kids that are going to be at the showcase tomorrow are on. So I'll be there. And again, if you're interested in that free webinar I'm having on how to pick the right travel team, just put that word interested in there, and I'll plug you in on December 8th when we have that free webinar on how to pick the right travel team. And so next year when we come traveling around the country with my boy Rob over here, these different showcases and camps, man, you look out for us. The dynamic duo, or they're getting this work in next year, man. So we got Siobhan Healy. I'm Siobhan Holt, but she's married to Tim Healy now. Big Tim over here.
Yeah.
Michael Goshevsky, Adam Gerantine, what's up? All right. Miss Bell, all right. Auntie Bell, Auntie Miss Bell over here. I just want to make sure I didn't miss Kelly Panessa. What's up? Danny Teifer. All right. Let's continue. All right, here we go. Gregory Rounds. We had other major league. I told you about Milt was on. Mo. I seen other big. I didn't say nothing. Miss LaPola. Shout out to Miss LaPola. Chu Freeman. What up, Chu? All right. Yeah. Gail Appler. What's up, Gail? All right. Mr. Bardunius. What's up? All right. So yeah, man. Bringing them all out, man. All right. So Rob, if you could, man. People still listening. I appreciate everybody still listening in. Just a message to parents, kids, whatever. You've been dropping them jewels anyway, but I love you could just take us on out, man, with a great message, man. Finish this out.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a kid from when I look back at my life as a student athlete in high school, I wasn't the best student, definitely. I look at myself as an athlete. I didn't think of myself as the best athlete. When I think of myself as definitely as a major leaguer. I wasn't the greatest major leaguer. Um, but the truth is, I maximized a lot of the opportunities I was given. I um, I maximized a lot of the relationships I was presented with. I um, I was blessed with a lot of intersections that sometimes maybe I was blind to, but they were there just long enough for me to to really to really see the fruition and to get to the other side of really a better person for. I've made a lot of mistakes, and you know what? And I've been better for a lot of them, and some of them, you know, you come out the other side, and you got some scars for. Um, you know, they used to come to spring training. A lot of these, whether it was Major League Baseball, they come in and talk to you about your insurance, or Major League Baseball and the FBI, their security program. They say, listen, you're going to be a former Major League player a lot longer than you're going to be a Major League player. And the stuff will go in one ear and out the other. And, you're done playing after a couple of years and you start thinking about these wonderful things. They said it's almost like it's torture. And the truth was, there's a lot of things I am and was and will be a lot longer a former version of. But the truth is, there's a lot of memories that baseball and sports have given me that no one will be able to take away. The camaraderie, the guys like I hear Miss LaPola, her husband was the high school assistant coach, and Neil Fino, and Coach Detz, and I think about our mom sitting in the stands and our dads being out there, and my sister, and that she had to endure a lot of stuff my sister did. Believe me, dragged around, all these experiences that high school sports first gave us, and then later on professional sports. They all were great as far as sports went, but they were human experiences, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. But you know what? There's a lot of things that I was so caught up in. It's like that saying goes, "I may not be much, but I'm all that I think about." It's sometimes I get so caught up in the minutia of. Do I have the right now? For example, now, do I have the right hitting coach? Do I have the right pitching coach? It's just about maximize the potential, maximize the moment, maximize if you're at the showcase in Waco, maximize that moment. I used to go to something called the Joe Wadika camp. It's this showcase in the area up here in the Northeast. It was like I didn't have a hitting or pitching coach. I went down. It was mano a mano. It's the way it goes. I didn't get in in the ring against the hitters there tight. I just let it fly, and that was his best version of me. It wasn't until later on sometimes that I let the situations get the best of me, and that's and those are the only regrets I will have. And but you know what? I'm better for relationships that I've had all my life with somebody like you, that I've watched O.J. Simpson in his car downstairs in my house. To eating chicken farm. I know I could laugh and I could cry.
I remember that day. We thought he was gonna kill himself.
I could laugh and cry. Eating chicken parm with some of my friends upstairs before games, and my dad polishing my shoes because that's the way it had to be right before game night, because I had to control all those little things. But it's life in baseball and basketball and sports in general, and as a student athlete prior to being a professional athlete, life's meant to be enjoyed, not endured. And sometimes I've learned that lesson the harder way than the easier way. And I like to learn the tough way sometimes, but I'm trying to change that. But God bless and good luck to all your listeners and viewers, and thanks for having me on, D. I love you, and you know that. And
yeah, man.
Thanks
listen, man. Man, start bringing in the parents and moms, and because we can't do nothing but look at memories. this is 30 years, man. This is nothing that 30 plus years of friendship, love for family, a lot of the stuff that he's talked about, a lot of times and stuff shared. So when you see us going back and forth and all, just know that this is what this is about. Just two friends that happened to just make it to the major leagues. You know what I'm saying? That's basically, we just had a great talent and made it to the league, and we could joke and talk and share stories and stuff with each other, real life, on and off the field, like he's sharing. I hope you guys understand the message that he gave, man. That quote, man. Say that one more time. Life is not to be endured but enjoyed. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that quote, man. Gosh, I gotta keep that one right there, man. Need to be a t-shirt right there, man. Um, Listen, Rob, I love you, my dude. Thank you, man, for coming on and spending the time. Trying to get this guy, catch him and run him down. Lord have mercy. But the fact that he was willing to do this, man. And shout out to my nephew. My nephew Leighton, he was on earlier. I don't know if he's still on, but he said this to me earlier this week, and I said, I don't think Rob will want to do this. He was like, man, get Rob on it, man. Y'all will be great together, man. You need to. I said, I don't know if Rob will. He's like, man, yo, that would be a dope show, man. You and Rob would rock this, man. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call him and see if he wants to do it, man. So shout out to my boy, my nephew Leighton, man, and because he giving me, I don't know, man. I just didn't think you would want to do this, but I thank you for doing this, man. I just want you guys to know next year, we're going to be doing some things together, teaching and sharing our knowledge and love for the game to the masses. I'm calling it, I'm putting it out there. Just like we dreams and we had at 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds sharing this. Man, we're going to be doing some good things together, man. So I'm putting it out there, and hopefully we can make this happen. Parents, I will be back on Monday, most likely. I hope I'm going to be traveling, and I'll be back on it, but we'll just be ready for a fun-filled week. Shout out to everybody in Marlboro, New York, that is listening in. Many teachers, Miss Giacoya, Mr. and Miss Lapola, Christy Brand says, what's up, Rob? Wink, wink. Mr. Perillos says, what's up? Man, the Montes, so many people. I can't imagine. So, I talk for both of us. I said we love you guys too, and thanks for supporting this thing. And we'll get this. All right. Wow, reunited, get two of Marvel's finest, no doubt about it, man. Love you, Rob. Thank you, brother.
Love you too.
All right, man. See you guys Monday.